right. All right. Good morning, everybody. I have a Zoom room and a classroom full today of agents who are interested in listings coaching. And I am Nakia Evans, in case anyone here does not know me, but I think everybody knows me in case you see the recording later. And our special guest today, I saved it, James, until this morning. And if anybody didn't see the message until they just walked in the door, but we have a special guest. James is actually a North Carolina Vic broker in charge in North Carolina. And he and I have formed a relationship to coach agents. And one of the big topics that he specializes in, and he'll give you his story in just a moment. He specialized in listings, and he was a listing agent when he was an agent before he became the broker in charge, or one of the broker in charges in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm excited. I'm pleased to tell the agents that are on my team in Charlotte, North Carolina, that they have the honor of being coached almost one-on-one, but maybe 1-on-10, 1-on-20. How many we got? We got 14 on Zoom, 3, 4, 6 in the room. So 1 to 20. James, we are very appreciative that you're taking an hour out of every week to see that the agents at eXpRealty get some type of specialized coaching from an expert in listing. So thank you. Welcome. You're on our screen on Zoom in our office.
All right.
In Charlotte. And you got some Charlotte and Maryland agents who are really excited to hear from you related to what they need to do to grow their business with listings. So take it away.
And thank you so much, Nikki. All right. I might have a couple questions like how to share documents and other things. I am not a Zoom expert, so I will be back and forth here a little bit. So, as Nakia said, I started my real estate career back in 2003. I started out like a lot of people. I was looking for a specialty. My manager told me, hey, you're going to do amazing. You got the personality, you got everything for it. But I was like floundering around. I was looking for, where do I go? What do I do? And so I decided to start looking, and I found these coaching programs that really benefited me, excelled my career, ended the year, selling my first year a little bit over 8 million, and found listings to be the trick in that business. Back in my day, it was a guy named Floyd Wickman and the Sweat Hogs program. And the old school coaching, folks, no matter what changes in the market, no matter how many new and different programs we have and social media experts, I'm telling you, some of the old basics are always going to work. You'll notice with my coaching selection and the guy that I have selected, one of the videos we're going to watch, I go back to the basics. When it's time I sold my business. I opened a couple brokerage offices in 2005, found immediate success in real estate in 03, 04. Figured out I knew it all at that time. So I was going to opened my own brokerage offices, opened up a couple offices, bought a Weichert franchise. We went through the explosion of the real estate market, and then the crash in 07, 08, 09 in Florida. We started a little bit earlier than a lot of the other states, and we started seeing our crash in 07. So rode the good waves, rode the bad waves. In 07, I folded one of my offices, and we focused. We had about almost 100 agents. We went down to 12 that survived the real estate market, and we re-engineered ourselves and who we were. And I refocused at that point on listings again, going towards, the distress listings and understanding, taking a lot of education, becoming a CDPE, and figuring out how to adapt to the changing market, which is skills that we all might have to do as the market shifts and changes. If you're going to exist in this business long term and claim I'm a 20-year veteran, I'm a 30-year veteran. You can't just stay static. You have to adapt, you have to change. But some of the principles you learn will always be consistent. So let's talk about listings. Let's talk about scripts. A lot of people think that scripts are not necessary, or they say, it doesn't sound authentic. And in my opinion, I agree with that. If all you're doing is reading a piece of paper and you're sitting there trying to, just read off of a piece of paper. But where scripts become effective is when you practice them up front and you internalize them, and then you make it your own and it becomes authentic. And so I'm going to share some scripts and some dialogues, and I don't want you to just take them for face value and what they are. When I've got these scripts, there was a couple things in them that I would say were cringeworthy, and it's your choice. I mean, he says these things for a reason. He developed these for a reason. It's supposed to, garner a reaction and what are you saying that for? Like, it's supposed to be a little bit edgy. But what I did is I took it and I wrote it down. I copied this PDF and I wrote out my own script in Word, and I practiced that. I internalized that to the point where I was going through and making my calls. I was able to, go off script, but it was all following the purpose of the script, what it was for. So, I'm going to share. Let me see if I can do this right now so you all see what we're talking about. I'm going to share something called my prospecting dialogue scripts. And if we have the opportunity to go over a couple of weeks, I don't just follow one coach. I've literally, I take things from almost any coach out there, whether it's Tom Ferry, Brian Buffini, Bob Loeffler is the one we're going to talk about today, because his prospecting scripts are very, very simple. But they're effective. So let me try. I'm going to put it in the chat here. So the thing I've just shared is prospecting dialogues. And if you start out on the top of that, there's going to be a referral dialogue that if you're just calling, say, your sphere of influence and you're looking for, referrals, that can be an effective dialogue. But we're going to go down and we're going to focus on something. We're going to focus on the FSBO dialogue. Because for prospecting for listings, you can do it where you're doing circle dialing and you're circling around, calling a general area, asking generic questions, or you can do it the targeted way, which is how I've done it over the years. And I get a service. So the service I've had over the years is called Vulcan 7, and you can use a number of different ones. Mojo has a dialer, and they've now added, instead of just the dialer, they have the expired lead listing service. RedX has a good system, and RedX actually has a couple different layers. And I've actually found RedX to be one of the more cost-effective for sale by owner and expired prospecting. So what they do is every day they scrub the MLS, they find the expired listings, they find the for sale by owners, and they find their information. They scrub for numbers, even cell phone numbers. They run it against the do not call list. So you see people that are marked for do not call. And so when I would log in the morning, I would log into Vulcan 7 and I would literally just see where I left off yesterday, and I would click start, and I would start prospecting through my hundreds of leads. And when one comes up, it pops up and you can click on the little link, see their house on Zillow. So when you're talking to them, you can ask them, hey, your house looks beautiful. I saw that, large bedroom looks amazing. Would you say that's oversized? So small talk, you're able to pull up their thing. You're able to make notes right there in the system. Highly encourage you, if you're going to get serious about listing prospecting, find a system. You can go old school. You can just go through the MLS and get the list yourself. You're going to probably want a service at that point, at least for finding the numbers. A lot of people use a service like Cole Realty for being able to get lists, circle prospecting lists, neighborhood lists. It's also great for if you're doing like an open house to get a 1 mile radius or a radius for prospecting, calling people, telling them, hey, I got a listing in the area. We're going to be holding it open. All these things generate listings, and all these things are practices you're going to want to become comfortable with to generate more listings. So with that said, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to share a coaching video, and we're going to listen to Bob Leffler go through his prospecting script instead of me just doing it myself here. So
when you hit share, James, don't forget to click the button at the bottom left that says share sound. Because you have to hit a sound also. That's the thing most people forget when they're sharing.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's starting. Our computers move a little slow when we're on Zoom and sharing. Sometimes when you play a video, you might have to turn your video off, and it'll make the computer go a little faster.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that.
Sale by owners. I know one of the top producing agents in every one of the major markets in America, and all of them have one thing in common. They are for sale by owner killers, okay? They start their day prospecting for sale by owners. Now, why do they do that? Is it because they're so much better than everybody else and they don't need to be scared of for sale by owners? No, they understand that for sale by owners are the low-hanging fruit. They're easier than most other people, really. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, gee, some for sale by owners are mean, and some for sale by owners are crazy, and some for sale by owners are stupid, and some for sale by owners don't have any equity to pay me with. Well, all those things are true, but that's also true of the general population. So what is it that makes the for sale by owner different than a regular seller in real estate? Well, here's what it isn't. It isn't that they don't want to pay a commission. In fact, that's what makes them the same as every other seller. In fact, I've never had a seller say, hey, Bob, I don't care if my house sells, but I definitely want to pay you a commission. No, every owner, every seller wants to end up with top dollar for their house, bottom line, okay? What makes the for sale by owner different is they think they've got everything all figured out. They're temporarily misguided. So here's what I recommend that you do. Is you incorporate my value proposition, the I do business completely differently value proposition. And this is what I teach my coaching students to do. If you're on the phone, you call up the for sale by owner and you say, hi, this is Bob with Fearless Agent Realty. And I'm calling because my records indicate that your house is for sale by owner. Is that true? Okay. I just want you to know something, gang. When I was new in real estate, I went to all these seminars and classes, and the person teaching the class would say, here's what you say to for sale by owners, and I'd write it down. And then at the break, I'd go up and say, hey, when you called for sale by owners and you said this, did they ever say, because I was trying to think of what the for sale by owner would say, invariably, the person who was teaching the class would say, oh, I never really worked for sale by owners. I kind of worked in my sphere of influence, or I worked referrals. And I realized that the people that were teaching me how to sell real estate had never done these things. I just want you to know that this will work 100% of the time. So you call up the for sale by owner and you say, the reason I'm calling is my records indicate that your house is for sale by owner. Is that true? Here's the wisdom in that. First of all, the thing that makes for sale by owners different than real estate agents is the FSBOs have their scripts memorized. We don't sometimes, but they do, okay? And you got to kind of knock them off their game. So you say, my records indicate, and they go, what records? Is he with the CIA or the IRS or something? So that's what that's all about. And it's a yes or no question. It also takes away what for sale by owners love to say to realtors on the phone, and that is, hey, we're selling it ourselves. Because you can say, you know, sometimes they'll still say it. You can say, yeah, that's funny, I just said that. So my records indicate that your house is for sale by owner. Is that true? They say yes, and then you just launch into a series of questions about their house. Now, you don't care. You're not writing any of this stuff down. You just say, well, let me ask you, how much are you asking for your house? How many bedrooms does it have? Is it a split floor plan, or is it one level or two levels? Do you have a pool in the backyard, or is it, do you have a garage or a carport? You just start asking them questions about their house. And the wisdom behind this is a typical for sale by owner. You're either going to catch them at a bad time and they're going to blow you off in 2 seconds, or you're going to be able to have a nice little conversation with them. So this keeps them on the phone. The longer they're on the phone, the friendlier they are. And when you can feel them softening up a little bit, then you hit them with the setup question. This is the secret to sales, okay? I hope you get this. Sales is about an elaborate setup that leads to one magic question that has no wrong answer. And once you've learned that, you've learned the secret to sales. And the setup question is, because you hate realtors? Now for the first time, the for sale by owner has heard, maybe, that their house isn't even on the market. And you know, we realtors are very bad about this. We have got to get our story straight. We'll say things to for sale by owners like, how long have you been selling your house? Hey, the better question is, how long have you not been selling your house? Or how long have you had your house on the market? A better question would be, how long have you had your house not on the market with a real estate professional? Okay, so let's hit it again. The setup question is, let me ask you something. You're trying to sell your house by not having it on the market. Pause. With a real estate professional. Is that because you hate realtors? They're going to say no. Or maybe they'll say, yeah, I hate realtors. And you say, why, did your wife run off with a realtor? What happened? Anyway, they're going to say no, okay? They're going to say, no, I don't want to pay a commission. And that's what you want it to be about, okay? You want it to be about the commission. So when they say, no, I don't want to pay a commission, you, with your face looking like you're shocked, you say, really? So it makes your voice sound like that? And they're going to go, yeah. So it's about money? And they're going to go, yeah, it's about money. And then you're going to hit them with the magic question, and that is, let me ask you this. If you knew absolutely for certain that by doing business with me, that two things would happen. One is that your house would actually sell. And number two is that you'd end up with significantly more money, bottom line, than you could get any other way, with or without an agent. And I know that's a big promise, but if you knew that, would you at least want to hear about it? I mean, be honest. Now, here's what I want you to know. That works 100% of the time, okay? Will it get me the appointment every single time? No. Will it get me the listing every single time? No. But you will know that if that question did not get you the appointment or did not get you the listing, there was no question that would have got that for you. Isn't that right? So I hope that helps you, gang, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.
James, we missed one of the questions there. It had cut out. Did you see it cut out when it cut out?
Oh, yeah. Did it do it when my cell phone rang?
Oh, maybe that's probably what happened. Yeah. So we
Okay.
missed a good question. Does anybody know what, right there where it was, what it was?
Is it a setup question?
Oh, the setup question, James. Do you know what the setup question is, or is it on our handout by any chance?
It is.
Okay, perfect. We're all good then. We can take a look at it.
Okay. So the setup question, we can go through it and see what everybody thinks of this dialogue, because the setup question, there's two questions. Number one is, let me ask you something. You're trying to sell your house without having it on the market with a real estate professional. Is that because you hate realtors? That's like the big, in my prospecting, that was a little bit of a controversial, like people, why would you say something like that? And, I don't know did you all hear that part?
Yes, yeah. And I've heard people use that question before too, somewhere along the line.
His quick wit is good. And from my experience, the quick-witted people that would be like, why did your wife run off with a realtor? I mean, like that type of thing will usually break down somebody's barrier and make them like chuckle and be like, no, I'm just teasing. So, it depends on how you handle this. I had one of my ISAs work for me, just couldn't say that. They just they were like, I hate this script. I can't say it. I'm not comfortable. So we changed it for them. But it is one of those things you do want to trigger that question. So it's really only about the money. Okay, well, I understand that. So if I could show you and you knew absolutely for certain that by doing business with me, that two things would happen. One is your house would actually sell, and the other is you would end up with way, way more money than bottom line than you could get any other way, with or without an agent. I know that's a big promise, but if you knew that, would you at least want to hear about it? And you're trying to get to that question where, so if it's about the bottom dollar, right? So if I could show you that you're going to net more, you're going to make more by working with me, your headaches are going to go down. Is that worth 20 minutes of your time? And if I showed you that in 20 minutes, that this is your option, is that worth you giving me 20 minutes? And where you want to stay out of the weeds is people will try to get you right there on the phone. So from my experience, going beyond what he said in the video, if you use this script, people are going to say, how are you going to do that? How do you show me that? And you got to just keep going back and repeating the line. You got to go back and say, Jim, that's a great question. And that's exactly what I cover in that 20 minutes. I'm going to show you exactly step by step what I do differently. That's going to end up making you more money than you could get with another agent or on your own. And if I can do that in that 20 minutes, is that a good 20-minute gamble on your side? Yeah, but how do you, again, that's what we go through when I sit down with you. And I promise I don't take things personally. If at the end of that 20 minutes, if you're not happy, you don't believe me, I haven't thoroughly convinced you that I'm the best choice to work with, then I will pack up my things. I'll shake your hand. I'll wish you good luck with your sale, and I will go out peacefully. So is that worth that 20 minutes? All right. What times work for you? Can we do Monday at 3 or Tuesday at 4? And you close for the appointment. Any questions we can go through?
Yeah, I feel like closing for the appointment is one of the most important things that agents really forget. Ask for the appointment and give options. So know what your calendar looks like already before you're jumping on the phone call with people, because you want to be able to spit out at least two options, and then let them pick one. And so that means you need to know what your calendar is. You need to have your calendar right next to you when you are making these calls, and you need to be ready. And most people just really forget to ask for the appointment, and sometimes ask for a referral at the end of some of these calls that you're going to be making and that we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Any questions in the room? Any questions on Zoom? Just click the raise your hand button and I'll call on you. We do have a question in the room.
So a lot of times I call for sale by owners and I'll say, I have buyers that may be interested. I'd love to come over and take a preview of the home.
Yep.
It gets me in the door and it's worked a couple times, but what are your thoughts on that strategy?
So I've done that as well. And I know a lot of people use that, and that's my biggest concern with it. And it seems a little inauthentic when I'm going and all I want to do is close for a listing. I want them knowing that I'm what I'm there for. I want them knowing that I'm there to show them that I'm their best choice to list their home with a professional, because they do all hear, hey, I got a bunch of buyers. They're all willing to pay a buyer's agent. And I feel like, if there's no other way you can get in the door, then that's great. That's a good option. Because get in front of them is the hardest part of it. And once you're in the door, there's a lot better chance you can convert. But I found my problem with that is I would close a lot smaller percentage of them because I had a hard time shifting without seeming inauthentic. Like when they would be like, all you wanted to do was list my house. And I'm like, yeah, that's really what I'm here for. That's my specialty. That's what I do. And it just seemed difficult for me to change it myself and go from, hey, I'm touring this for a bunch of buyers, see what it looks like. And like my question back to you is, how do you, because I have no problem with that. I'm not one of those guys that say, because truly we do all have, if we've been working for a while, we have a lot of buyers. This might hit one of them. Our previewing it, touring it, is better than just looking at pictures online. But knowing that you want to go get that listed and you want to put your sign up there, how do you convert it? And is it just slowly build rapport, stay in touch with them, and eventually switch it over? Or are you able to, on that appointment, switch it from a buyer preview to a closed listing?
So I typically do it to build rapport, and I tell them, like, I want you to make the most amount of money possible. If I can find a buyer, that's great. If I sometimes say something like, I can host an open house for you. I just try to like build that relationship, maybe less aggressively, but to your point, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it might be better going straight for the real thing. I mean, I have had success with it working that way, but
And following up with what Caroline said, I've seen people, agents volunteer to host open houses for the for sale by owners. That was another way to get in the door. And I don't know if anybody had any experience with that, but we used to have agents do that. And that would be some lead generation, building rapport, volunteering to help a for sale by owner, and kind of getting your foot in the door before other agents. What do you think about that, James?
I think your job is to build a relationship and provide value. Because even with the best script, they might say, okay, well, I think you're a good option. And you go through the Fearless Agent script, you do the listing presentation, and you sit down with them. They might still have this thought that they can do it themselves. Mm-hmm. And most of us know, according to the National Association of Realtors, and this is the stuff you're going to want to internalize as well, is know your numbers. Because according to NAR, about 90% of all buyers use a realtor. And out of the 10% that don't, they sell for on average 30 to 40% cheaper than houses that were listed by agents. So, the question I always ask sellers is, you don't want to use me because I cost something. Well, a buyer doesn't pay us. We have to change the way we say that according to code of ethics.
Right.
We have to be careful with that one. Mm-hmm. But for us to go out there and tell people, like, why would a buyer not want to use us? We pay for the gas, we ride them around in our cars, they get our local expertise. And, traditionally the seller will be the one paying our fee. So, if they don't use us, Why do you think that is? And it's because on average, the normal person buying a for sale by owner is doing it for the same reason somebody's selling a for sale by owner, because they know they're not paying a fee. So they're going into it automatically with a 6% reduction in their brain on what they're going to offer, how they're going to negotiate, and they know they're not represented, and they know they're not paying a fee. So most of the time, unless there's competition, you know, they're going in with the preset mindset to save money as well. Unless it's, you know, you'll have the house that's just the perfect house. It's going to sell no matter what anybody does. You know, it's on that corner. Everybody loves it. It's in the perfect school district. You know, unless the seller really didn't know their numbers, you know, it's going to sell. So all the extra services, when I start and I work with people, I try to provide value. And I'm going to give you guys one more weapon to put in your arsenal. You know, tell the people, hey, I've teamed up with a great lender, which, by the way, you know, today is, you know, we're sponsored by Success Lending. I'm the branch manager of Success Lending. Tell them one of the most important things is qualifying your buyers. And all these buyers are calling, you have no idea what they are capable of buying. I have a lender that will take all your buyer calls and make sure every one of them comes to your house pre-approved. And so you're not wasting your time going out there dealing with people that might not, and if they're not serious enough, how do you make sure they're not predators? How do you make sure there's a safety side that needs to be stressed to for sale by owners? There is a large percentage of people that are concerned about the safety of their homes and what they're opening up, who they're opening up their homes to. And that needs to be brought up carefully. So you can ask the question and just say, you know, safety is, I'm sure, a big concern. One of the things we do as realtors is we make sure that our buyers are pre-qualified. We make sure that they're serious enough to come to the office, register with us, leave an ID, you know, register with a lender, put their credit report on file, and make sure that they're actually a serious buyer looking to close on a house and able to close on a house your size. What do you do? And how do you make sure that the person isn't somebody that's a predator, that's somebody that's, you know, coming in and casing your house or wanting to see pictures of your kids? How do you make sure, you know, we also, as realtors, we put an electronic key box out there that tracks everybody that ever comes through your house. So if anything was ever missing or stolen or anything, you know, these little things all add up to, what am I doing? You want to leave them with a whole lot of questions like, am I really sure I can do this? So writing the contracts and doing all that, you know, it's a small part of what we do. There's safety, there's making sure they truly know the numbers. There's, you know, I always tell people it's the law of supply and demand. If I do a poor job marketing your house and I don't get you a large percentage of buyers, you're going to be stuck there taking offers. So it's about proper pricing presentation. It's about knowing the pricing it correctly, making sure we get the maximum amount of showings, the maximum amount of offers, because if we don't have competition, you're going to be stuck taking offers because competition drives value. So, you know, putting your house out there where 10% of the market is going to see it and get it, it's not a great pricing strategy. So you ask questions, you do provide value, and you do understand whether they sign a listing agreement with you on appointment one. Most of the time, I've found in my calls and my journeys, you know, if I talk to somebody about 8 times, they do give up. They either sell on their own or they give up somewhere, you know, in that couple week to 2-month period. And you just want to be the person that calls them the day they gave up. And you want to continue to follow up with them and have if you're providing them value, hey, I talked to the lender and he's got 4 buyers qualified for you. That's awesome. You know, you can find a reason to reach out and continue that conversation that's non-pressure. And hey, by the way, wanted to check in with you and see how everything's going. Are you still determined you want to do it on your own? Well, honestly, we're getting to the point, if we don't do something next week, this job transfer, we gotta do something. And I guess that leads me to point, one that I should have backed up to. You always want to know somebody's motivation. If somebody's like, James, I don't need to sell unless it's the perfect price. And it's one of those Zillow make me move numbers that's just crazy. I put them on a follow-up, but I'm not aggressive. I'm not going to be every week. I'm treating them like, hey, if you ever get serious, I'm your guy. But what I'm looking for is somebody that knows they have to move. They have a job transfer. They have a hard date in mind, because those people, they're going to change. They're going to go with a realtor eventually. And you want to be the guy or girl that's called them the most, that's been with them, that's touched them the most, that's provided them the most value, that built the rapport over those days, weeks, months, because they will get tired of it and they will change. And then over the next couple days, weeks, whatever we get together, we're going to go through an expired call. We're going to go through a listing presentation and how you do your listing presentation, what elements a listing presentation should all have in it, and key questions, dialogues that we have. When we get to the listing, what do? We tour, we walk through, we go through the house, we do these things. So we're not going to cover everything all in today's call. Today is just about, in my opinion, the importance of finding a script that works for you. If this script isn't you, don't try it. Ask me, reach out to me. I have scripts from pretty much anybody that's ever done them. I've just found that this, for me, is a question I can internalize. I had internalized this question in maybe, 2 weeks of doing it. To me, it was asking questions, building rapport, asking about the house, and then going into, why don't you have your home professionally listed? It's about the money. Oh, that's actually great news, because if I can show you how you end up making more money by working with me, is that worth giving me 20 minutes? And if they say, no, it's not worth it, then they're not serious yet. Eventually they're going to say, yeah, I can gamble 20 minutes. If you can really show me that working with you is going to make me more at the end of the day, and I don't have to do any of this work, yeah, that's worth me giving you 20 minutes.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. I want to comment on one thing and ask you one more question. So I'm, of course, coming from Maryland, relocating to North Carolina. In Maryland, we are a title company state. So we use a realtor, or you have to hire an attorney to do the paperwork. I'm not all the way familiar yet in North Carolina. So when we called for sale by owners in Maryland, our first question was, do you have access to the paperwork that you need to sell your house? And that was a good thinking question, because do you have the disclosures that are going to be required by law? How will you access the disclosures and the forms that are required by law? And then they may say, what forms, or I don't need any forms, or, I'm going to get a lawyer to do it. So that's kind of one of the first questions that we ask when talking to for sale by owners, so we can kind of get a gist, or they can kind of tell on themselves as to what's the plan to sell the house before we go into everything. Because if they're going to use an attorney, or they've already been talking to an attorney, then they probably definitely aren't going to use us. So it's kind of like an upfront question in Maryland. What does that work here in North Carolina?
It does. I will caution people, as the broker in charge, you can't just, I know some agents have tried this, and it's part of the building rapport and providing value. They'll offer just to give them the forms.
Yeah, we
can't don't want to do that. No.
Yeah, we can't do it in Maryland either. So that's why they tend to use us, because we can't give the forms.
Right.
if they question that, there's plenty of websites that we could send them with the information, plenty of articles, written articles, and like, like the Realtor associations have it in writing that, the public cannot use our forms. You have to be a member to use the forms. So when we provide them with information like that, they're like, oh, well, I didn't think about the forms, how much trouble. The other thing with the real estate commission, there are a lot of people who are in trouble because they don't have the correct form or they don't have the correct information on the disclosure form. So if, sometimes that can be part of the conversation to move the sale by owner over to working with you as a realtor, because you can show them, I've had this training. I work with our broker in charge weekly. Use your power of persuasion and also your value proposition, because attending these coachings weekly will also become your value proposition when you're talking to for sale by owners, expireds, etc.
Yeah, when I built my listing presentation, the toughest thing I've ever done was when I sold my business in Florida, and I had already built a fairly comfy life based on what I had built over the 13 years I did it. I moved to North Carolina in 2015 for a new adventure, and I was going to focus a little more on commercial sales and some of that. But then I got into it and realized, man, commercial, I worked on some deals for like 2 years, and it's a long-term thing. So I went back into residential listing and sales, focus on listings again. And, when you have no sphere of influence, you've moved here from somewhere, this is one of the only ways you can really build your business, or it's one of the fastest ways you can build your business. And, going out there, and when I did that, I was like, okay, nobody knows me. I've been doing it for a decent amount of time, but, what do I provide, people? And I put my Tom Ferry coach in my listing presentation as one of my team members. I put him as my trainee or my, coach consultant guy. And I literally built out my team and showed the support of my team and the organization, and showed people, I'm part of a pretty cool setup here. And, people that are engaged in these trainings, using us, working with us on this stuff, you can literally build out your presentation and include everybody that's helping you. Here's my group, here's my network, here's my, team leader, here's my office, here's my broker in charge, here's my, here's the whole group. And, leverage it, especially if you're new. And if you don't have a huge story, you are in an amazing place, because you're at eXp, who sells more real estate as a single office than anybody around, than anybody in Canopy. I mean, we are a dominant leader in the market, and you can start looking up numbers and start looking up and using our numbers, our story, you can do it smaller and look at your office, or you can go larger and say, in Charlotte, we sell, almost $3 billion of real estate. In North Carolina, we sold almost $10 billion of real estate last year. We're a large firm. We're somebody that's able to help you. We're somebody you want working for you.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a good idea. They can get the numbers from Canopy. Just go in Canopy and run by office.
Yeah. And we can cover that, and how to do all the, knowing your numbers is a big part of the listing side. There are agents that really specialize in it. And the more you do, the more you're going to want to track your numbers. Showing average days on market compared to others, or your average days on market, your list to sale price. The more you get your stats up, the better. People like me, it gets a little tough, because I'll have a retail land sit there for 3 years, on some of my commercial stuff I do. So it's a little tougher for me to do some of that. But if you're mostly focused on residential, knowing your numbers and learning how to run those numbers and using, it's probably worth everybody taking a course directly from Canopy on the number side, the SAMS reporting.
Yeah, thank you. There's a question in the chat. Do you add lenders to your presentation as well? Well, James just told us he's the branch manager.
Absolutely, we do.
So it's a no-brainer to that answer. It's definitely a yes. Generally you want to add more than one just in case, for, you know, the ethics and law and whatever else. You know, you may want to choose 3. We know to put your favorite one in position number 1. People tend to choose the first one they see. But yes, and we're going to work on in these coming weeks, we're going to work on listing presentation. So James is definitely going to cover your listings team. And again, I want to reiterate what he said for new agents who don't have a lot of listing experience. It's sharing your team. People, when you give a listing presentation, people Google people. So imagine the people that receive James's listing presentation, and then they saw Tom Ferry, they go to Google Tom Ferry, and he has 1,100 videos on listings, and he's the coach, and you know, he's the best, and you know how many, what all his experience. So they don't tend to try to see if you're directly associated. I mean, don't lie if you're not using Tom Ferry. Another coach, your mentor. If your mentor is a listing agent, your mentor is your consultant, is your coach. Your broker in charge, your broker, you know, somebody you're directly associated with. But I could imagine receiving a listing presentation from James, seeing Tom Ferry and, you know, Googling that and being like, oh, okay, I can, you know, he's got a good circle of influence, so I can use him, or you know, maybe it's an okay idea.
It's also good to show, like for me, what I would launch into is, you know, the group and the network I'm a part of. You know, it's not only the coaching side, but it's the national group. And we have the same thing at EXP. We're 81 or 89,000 agents strong. And we have an amazing group of, you know, top performers in all markets. And so, you know, we always told people, a lot of people moving in are coming from other areas. You know, my networking with this group of people really provides us a lot of access, a lot of, you know, gives your house a great spotlight. So, you know, we want to find every way we can to kind of highlight us. And just, you know, when I was young and new, I leaned on people I could, you know, when I had never sold anything before, and I was a 19-year-old person, you know, out there trying to build my career at 19 years old and 0 sales under my belt. You know, I told the story of 3 generations of real estate in my family. I told them the story that my grandfather sold real estate, my dad sold real estate, my uncle sold real estate. And I grew up, you know, sitting at the dinner table, and we had, you know, people were having normal conversations about the weather and politics, and we were talking about closing problems. And I might have embellished it a little bit, but
it's okay. It worked.
it worked. You know, I got here.
And it's a story. People tend to see stories, you know, once they hear them, they see them, and they can just imagine that you have all this expertise in your family. You have somebody to go to ask questions.
Exactly.
That's important. Do you have someone to go to ask questions is really what people want to know, because they know that not one person knows everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're a trustworthy individual, you'll tell them the second you really don't know something. You won't answer just to answer, but you'll tell them, hey, my team, let me go. I'll take this to my team. I got somebody that specializes in this, and they'll be able to give us an answer right away. And they don't care if you know everything. They just want you to be able to answer their question in a good amount of time and provide them with an answer they can trust. They trust somebody that tells them they don't know, but they know somebody that does know. They trust that more than somebody that makes it up on the fly, and they'll start questioning everything you say. If they find something wrong with one thing you say, you're gonna end up burning your bridge pretty quick.
Yeah. All right, thank you. There's no more questions in the room. Are there any questions on Zoom before we let you go for this week? Going once, going twice. All right, I don't see any. I want to thank you again for taking your time. I just want to remind everyone that this weekly call is sponsored by Success Lending, which is a direct affiliate of eXp. James, you have some things in your pocket, some incentives for agents to utilize Success Lending. You want to tell them the one thing about the 1,500?
Yes. So 2 things real quick. Anybody that uses Success Lending, that's an eXp agent, can offer their clients a $1,500 closing cost credit. And that is for any of your clients that use Success and eXp. So the other thing is anybody that works for eXp can get up to 1% of the loan off as closing costs. So if you're closing a $300,000 loan, that's $3,000 to help you do things like reduce your closing costs, buy down the rate. So, some pretty cool tools because eXp owns 50% of Success and another lender owns 50%. It's eXp's joint venture. So make sure to check us out. If anybody has questions or wants to know more about Success or finding a partnership with Success, I'm going to just leave in the chat group here real quick. My son heads up our little efforts because I have nearly 500 agents on my team at my office, and I don't do much lending myself, but I do oversee things, making sure everything's going the way it's supposed to. But Alex is a great resource. He's a hard worker. He's somebody that knows how to answer when he doesn't know something and how to find people. He works directly with our VP, George Nicolau. And so you get a lot of, Alex is a 21-year-old that's not been doing it forever, but you get somebody that's partnered with somebody that's been doing it 40 years. And so they make a great team. So I put Alex's number there. And if you have any pre-approvals you need, he works day and night. He will do anything he needs to earn your business. And he's backed up and supported by somebody like myself who will make sure that you always have a good experience.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, guys, you have a good day. We're putting about 5 minutes back in your pocket.
Thank you so much. Have a great
All right,
week.
we'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Thank you for attending. We'll see you guys next Monday here again. Same link, add it to your calendar. We'll be here every Monday at 9:30 to 10:30. Bye-bye. Thank you.